Right, well, it's Thursday, which means I'm back to cause more trouble and wax poetic about 20 something odd years ago. Um, there's only a couple of short chapters this week, only because this should wrap up freshman year in a cute little bow. Um, for me, the interesting thing going through all this of what I was able to find from back there is I don't actually have too many pictures of myself from this time. When I kicked off this chapter, I had my freshman year photo that ended up in the yearbook. I have the photo of me and Emily at the dance. Um, One of the pictures I used today is not like I didn't take it. It was a friend of mine. So that will change starting with like the next year. But anyway, one of the things I do have that I'll use to like kind of pepper in here is old choir program. So I just want to make sure that I hit the end of freshman year, and this will also be there will be a little bit of a call out for whoever happens to be watching these. I will also preemptively apologize. If you can hear it, have been fighting something where even yesterday, the more I talk, the more voice I lose. So what's funny is trying to record this of freshman year, my voice sometimes changes to like how I sounded in freshman year with all the voice cracking and puberty. So we're gonna see if I can actually make it through it. But here we go. Down the rabbit hole that is the last couple of weeks, even, of my freshman year in high school. Back to the cutest girls in the world. To end the year, choir would always do a pops concert where people could try out acts of pop and rock and other assorted genres of music, and if chosen, would make up the bulk of the show. The guys and girls of chorale would be broken up to join the higher choirs. The ladies would be doing Build Me Up Buttercup, while the guys would be doing a medley. Thanks to my work as Jack, I'd started to have a little bit more confidence in singing, and because of that, during the ladies' practice for their song, I jumped at the chance of singing the solo while they practiced their parts. However, I hadn't necessarily paid attention to the word changes, which allowed for a comedic moment where I sang the phrase, "You are the boy I adore." As the girls in chorale immediately burst out laughing, Mr. Ludwig smiled from the piano. "Boy you adore? Matt, I had no idea." I laughed, blew a kiss to Mr. Ludwig's direction, and said, "I'm more than happy to try that again." The night of the show, Mr. Ludwig caught me and introduced me to a guy who would go over some of the music with me. And also, the guy who would 100% change my life going forward. "Call me Blaine," the blonde-haired junior said, taking a drink out of his bottle of Dr. Pepper. While his first name was Nathan, everyone called him by his last name, because there were two Nathans in the same choir, and this was just how I came to know him. "I know you. You're the sailor." "Matt, yeah. Great. Yeah, we have some choreography to go over whenever she gets here." "I'm here, Blaine," said a voice. "I'm Katie." Hi," I replied. "I'm Matt." "Oh, the cute sailor. Hi, Maddie. Okay, you and Blaine will be standing at the end. Let's go over your moves," she said. I, however, stood there for a second enthralled. The immediate thought when meeting Katie in that moment was her energetic personality, but also to a freshman, how pretty she was. I snapped back into reality for a second and followed her choreography. The moves were standard Motown motions, as the medley was called Girls, 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 consisting of California Girls, Calendar Girl, and My Girl, and we'd rolled them all together. As the concert came and the guys cheered on the girls for Build Me a Buttercup, when we went on stage, All the guys seemed a little self-conscious, stiff, just maybe even half-hearted. Except me and Blaine. We hammed it up, getting into the moves, flirting with the girls that guest starred on stage, and finished the song together, hitting that baritone note that Mr. Ludwig had offered us. When we got backstage, Blaine smiled. You're going to try for downbeat, right? Performing arts was only a single-year commitment, and I hadn't thought of downbeat auditions yet. I knew I was going to stick with choir, but the idea of making it to the elite 0-hour choir was still a mountain I just wasn't sure about. But I was going to have to figure that out soon. The 4 choirs went on stage together to sing Mr. Ludwig's arrangement of Friends. This one met with a lot of heartbreak for everyone, but the upper class in particular, as this was the final concert of Mr. Ludwig's time at Mountain Point. And each choir, each class, was represented with a solo, but it was his, at the end, that emotionally touched everyone. The choir program he had led was truly a family. Once you were in, you were probably going to be there for a while. And now he was leaving. Mr. Ludwig asked me the next day to try out for Downbeat at the end of the year. Auditions were shortly a week away, and although he was leaving, he was still putting together the choir for the following year. I auditioned for and earned a spot in a cappella, but had to perform a separate audition for Downbeat. These auditions were done in quartets. You would be called to sing at different times and groupings to see how your voice matched with others. It was a goal of a lot of singers to make it, and I went along for the ride. I wasn't sure where it would lead, but I did what I could. When I was selected for Downbeat as a bass, I couldn't believe it. I truly couldn't. I wasn't told until much later in life that Mr. Ludwig told the choir members at the choir council meeting following that fateful spring concert how proud he was of me. That I'd taken so much in stride, but he knew there was something there if I would just allow it. That I had done better than any practice before then and had embraced what choir and truly being part of it could be. I was also told how popular Jack had been with Shantae. I learned that the day after the concert, Shantae saw it too, after requesting it for Mr. Ludwig after viewing their own performance. Mr. Ludwig knew I was going to be great for Downbeat if I decided to go for it, and that if I was going to do it, I'd be dedicated to the choir program for the long haul. So when I showed up to auditions, what I thought was going to be just a maybe I'm getting in because they need a guy or two to make up for who they are losing, ended up being so much more. So much more. Downbeat would go on to be a major source of some of my most heart-swelling and heartbreaking moments of my high school years. I'm a man with a mission on 2 or 3 editions. Toward the end of the school year, the yearbook was released with a bit of fanfare and a release party at the school. Although I did not order one that year, a mistake I still regret, I did go up to the school to meet with friends. What I did do is sacrifice a white t-shirt to the cause, walking around and having people sign the shirt or the small packet of pages handed out to students who didn't order yearbooks so they could still capture memories or notes from people. A lot of the notes written to me are from choir, which also means they have 1 or 2 things in common. A note about Jack, or a note about my height. Hey sailor, don't forget to grow over the summer, McCall G wrote to me. She would later leave Mountain Point for another school, so this would be the last time I would see her for quite some time. Christina W. from choir greeted me with a, "Howdy, sailor. Don't feel too bad about your height. You have a great personality and are a gentleman in every way." Crystal wrote that it was fun that we got to hang out that year and looked forward to more in the years to come. And as Charlie got ready to move to New Zealand, she wrote how this was a year for learning. I'll miss scheming with you every day. And I would miss our talks and scheming as well. But the lesson she helped me learn was one I'm forever grateful for. Stephanie enjoyed having a full page to write on, saying she was happy to have spent our class period together and was appreciative I would listen to her guy problems. This would be a place in my life for a lot of female friends that I would find over the years. Kristen, who became known as my quote-unquote sunburnt sailorette due to an inside joke between the two of us around the time of my performance, signed on the page, I'm glad that I met you. I will find no other sailor like you. You, my short man, are awesome. Love ya. A short note from Emily, something she would be known for with the yearbooks in the future, wrote, Hey Matt, it's been interesting this year, but still fun. Thank you for everything and anything. See you next year. It is Kate's note, which nearly takes up an entire page, that stands out for me the most. From being a first crush to a bit of a foil about making jokes about me and my height, the one thing she always continued to be was a steadfast friend. I have known you since the beginning of the year, and when I met you, I had no idea what would come of it. I have to admit that our relationship had its ups and downs, but I don't regret becoming your friend. I wish you the best of luck for the future, although the path may be bumpy. Fate holds you in her hand, Matt, and if you trust her with your life, it will work out right. So raise hell for me and have a good summer. One thing for sure, I was certainly planning to do just that. But fate does have a way of making herself known. Don't know what you've got till it's gone. We're moving, Jessica said. I bolted upright from the chair by the pool. You're what? My parents told me it won't be until after the school year is over, though. I get to finish it. I think the shock I felt silenced any, well, fuck, that I would have said. It just hung there for a minute. It seemed to then go unsaid. We wanted to spend as much time together as we could before she left. The thing is, when you know something is coming, even though it can feel like time will slow down in the moment, it doesn't. We spent the waning days and weeks of our freshman year at the pool, getting into water fights, drying off as we walked to the apartments. We sat on playground equipment and talked. We did homework together and made Jamba Juice runs. We were packing as much as we could into a short amount of opportunity, and while out and about, she snapped a photo of me, planning to put together a scrapbook of high school memories later. We worked so hard to make memories, hoping that her leaving could be put off as much as possible. However, the one thing that can't be stopped is time. No matter our bargaining, our begging, or fighting, it ignores us. Time and I would have a hell of a relationship during high school, and as everyone in school couldn't wait for summer break, I felt the opposite. When it came to the last day Jessica and I would have together, she came over and knocked, and my dad answered the door. My dad had become quite fond of Jessica and her and my friendship, and he said his goodbyes to her as well. Side by side, Jessica and I walked out into the parking lot. The last bits of things her and her family needed to pack up and get ready to go on the road were wrapping up. She had my address and my phone number. You do the best you can with that kind of goodbye. And I hadn't quite found my voice yet to express myself fully. All we could muster in the moment would be a hopeful, see you later, a hug, and a goodbye. Jessica and her family loaded up into the car as I stood watching. As they pulled out of the parking lot area, I stood waving till the car was out of sight. They turned out of the parking lot, and I cut through the buildings to the street, racing and catching their car as it pulled onto the street, and kept waving. And I continued to do so until they disappeared from sight. The first heartbreak of high school. And also with this came the first true regret of high school. That words failed me in the moment. I couldn't enunciate them to her at the time. But I hope I can share a little bit of that here. She was truly my partner in crime, Jessica was. And she was the one who made it comfortable to make teenage vows that we would get married and have every intention of keeping if we were single at 40. Which I guess now for me is like next month. I could never have asked for a better best friend that freshman year. And I truly loved her for it. I still do. Empty lake, empty streets. The sun goes down alone. I'm driving by your house, though I know you're not home. The Boys of Summer by Henley. And with that, we are 34 pages into my high school memoir, which, to give you some behind-the-scenes information, 34 pages is 10% of the book. The next few years become some of the most fun, most memorable, most influential that I would ever have. And this is where the ask comes in from anyone who happens to watch these, who has a musty old box somewhere. If anybody has the Mountain Point High School yearbook from what would have been, 1998 into 1999, and you'd be willing to, scan or snap a photo of what the heck, the choir photos looked like, or anything. I've never seen that yearbook. I have the other three, but I don't have that one. So I have no idea if, other than my little, dorky picture, I'm in it anywhere. But if anybody has, it and is willing to share it, I would love to see it. The same goes for anyone who has any sort of photo of me floating around, because, one of the things that I have found interesting about all of this, and it's been conversations I've had with friends, is, I got so caught up in taking photos of my friends because I wanted to keep that memory, of everything. It wasn't until I started working on this project and some people sent me photos that they had of me that I suddenly realized, people like to take photos of me too. So, anyway, there's a bit of that lovable loser that comes out. Anyway, that's the end of freshman year. The next video that I record, I'm pacing it in such a way, and I looked, and I got excited because of what I'm about to record, because basically all of the most important people who I would have in my life, outside of my wife and 2 kids, all get introduced my sophomore year in high school. And nearly all of them get introduced in the next video. So, maybe I'll drop a teaser photo of what I looked like sophomore year, right here or right here in whatever floating abyss. And I will plan to be back next week as I dive into the wonderful world of downbeat, a cappella, and just what the heck started to happen to me in the halls of Mountain Point. Thanks for watching. Keep circulating the tapes. Be good to yourself. And remember, keep on rolling.